anything tonight that I haven't already heard.
On the other hand, most of us can't travel to Sacramento very frequently, and if we did, we wouldn't. Generally, it's very difficult to testify before legislatures in Sacramento, and it's even harder to do so in Washington, D.C. So it's the local level that provides an opportunity for people to speak their mind on some key issues. So I hope we do hear from people, but I hope we also don't hear repetition of the same argument repeatedly. I have a sort of a question about, are there any implications for, and I'm addressing this to the city attorney, do you see any implications in terms of disagreements about possession of a pet? For example, if my cat were to leave the house and prefer the food next door and want to stay over there, would this decrease in any form or fashion my ability to retrieve Katie from the neighbor?
Well, first of all, as I tried to point out, that's not the subject matter of this ordinance. It really doesn't address whether your dispute with your neighbor over who owns Katie or who has the right to have Katie stay in their house. That's not what this ordinance is focused on. So even if we were using guardian in the broadest possible terms, it still, I don't think, would affect that directly.
And because the definition basically of guardian is owner, it would have no impact on dog licensing issues, or if the dog ran away and were retrieved by our animal officer and taken to the pound in terms of recovering that animal, there would be, you see no legal implications for that.
Right. There are sections in the ordinance that deal with that precise situation, and if it says guardian shall, the notice has to be given to guardian or whatever, that when it uses that word guardian, you go to the definitions. It says guardian means owner. Then you look up the definition of owner, and you see, oh yes, it's the person that owns the pet. So it wouldn't, as a technical matter, it shouldn't have any effect on that. But like I said at the beginning, there is, you have to ask yourself, why is that word in there if it doesn't mean anything? If it just means owner, why are we putting it in there? That question's going to come up, and it could come up in the future, and some future city council may wonder, why did they do that if they didn't intend it to have any different meaning than owner? Why bother going through that exercise? And
regarding a cat that contracts cancer, there are no implications on demands for treatment that you are aware of in terms of the difference between this guardian language versus an owner language?
Again, as I said, the ordinance doesn't even address that specifically, what kind of treatment anybody has to give to a sick animal. That's not the subject matter of the ordinance. And I'm, in the context of the ordinance, when that guardian term is used, it would mean owner as defined in the ordinance. That's all it means. If that's what it says, that's all it means. But like I said, I'm backtracking a little because, the term guardian does have regular common usage meanings and technical meanings if you get into, talking about guardianships and so on. And if those definitions were applied, then there could be all kinds of issues, I think, because the guardian-ward relationship is a relationship where the guardian has to put the interests of the ward ahead of their own interests. And the welfare of the ward is the primary responsibility of the guardian. So that if that definition were applied to that relationship, it could have all sorts of implications.
Further, Councilmember Landis.
As I've been reading the correspondence and listening to people talk about this issue, I've basically come up with a number of questions that keep surfacing as I've been hearing all this information or reading it. And the questions that keep surfacing, which first of all, I'd preface it by saying what I'm getting from all this activity around this topic, particularly from the people who would like the change, is that basically they'd like to reduce or prevent animal abuse. That's the motivating sentiment that I think seems to be encouraging people to want to change this language to influence that possibility. So as I've been reading all this information, I've been asking these questions to myself, which as people make public comment might be relevant to what you talk about. One is, does it have legal meaning? Does this change have legal meaning? Number two is, does it protect animals better? Number three is, does it clarify? And number four is, does it educate? And I think, you know, those are the kinds of things that I've been thinking about as I've been looking at this.
Further council discussion? If not, we are going to hear from people present, and we hope you don't repeat the same argument over and over again, but we do hope to hear answers to questions to help us make a decision here. So there's no order in which you approach up here. We do hope that you will sign in. That'll help our clerk get your name correctly, and also let us know whether you reside within the city limits of Ukiah. That would be valuable as well.
State your name at the outset.
And state your name publicly.
I'll wait till you guys get all that. My name is Terry Vaught. I do reside in the city of Ukiah. I also own a business in the city of Ukiah. I have given you my signature sort of application that my clients have to sign. I own a boarding and grooming facility. And as a business owner of an animal boarding and grooming facility, and I'm going to read this because I've written it all down, and then I'll do a sort of off the cuff. I do not feel that I should be burdened with the change of legal language from owner to guardian. If the word guardian or even owner/guardian is adopted by the City Council, this will affect my contracts, paperwork, and possibly my insurance. I and my staff will undoubtedly have to take business time to explain to clients why they are a guardian if they live inside the city limits and an owner if they live outside the city limits. From experience, I can tell you that people treat and feel that their pets are their babies, and the change of wording is unnecessary. The animals do not care what we call them. It's not going to change abuse. There is nothing wrong with the word owner. It is a legal term. Please do not change it. I do not trust that the change of language is not a ploy by animal rights activists to slowly and methodically take away our rights to own animals. I hope the City Council will not be fooled by this tactic and will keep the language as it is. Pets are our property. We do own them, and we need to be responsible pet owners. I love my animal. My dog sleeps with me in my bed under the covers, but she is my property, and I have to take ownership of her, and I do. She doesn't care what I call her. She just wants me to love her, and all pets are that way. It is not going to, just because you change the name to a guardian is not going to make someone not abuse their animal. We need to educate people a different way to not abuse them. Guardianship is not going to make any difference. And I am a business owner in the city. I pay taxes. I pay licenses. I'm not going to be able to change all that. I don't know if that's going to be legal to just, you know, I mean, I have to have permission from the owners to seek medical treatment, to have, you know, permission from them. I don't know if change